How's it going?
Hi. Pretty good. How's you?
Good, man. We've had a crazy day here. I'm just
It's always
not to
about
go
you.
straight
Jesus
into it.
Christ. Okay. Okay.
You
What's
asked.
so crazy about old Michaeltown?
No, let's start with you, and then we'll go to how miserable I am.
Okay. Well, I went to go to the supermarket, and it's a bit rough here at the moment. You probably won't get it, but we have to wear masks and shit when you go out. So you're going out to supermarket, put it on. It's a bit inconvenient. Get there, and I'm looking for some of those compostable, like cornstarch bags. You know how these days you don't need to have a plastic bin bag. You can just have these cornstarch ones which decompose. It's like better for the environment. So I'm a big advocate for it. And we were getting a bit
Okay.
low on our end. Probably only had one or two bags left. And I headed out to the store, lined up for a while. Go in. There's a big run on everything, of course, level 2. And there's only the small cornstarch bin bags or the large bags, but not the medium. It just
Still don't know what a cornstarch bag
it
is.
just threw me off. It threw off my whole day.
Is it made out of
It's
cornstarch?
made out of corn, so it biodegrades, not plastic. Yeah, it feels
So
like plastic.
biodegradable. Is it for compost?
It's for compost, but I just use it for regular bin waste because, again, it's like not a plastic bag, not throwing it in the mix.
Okay.
So I've only got enough bags to last me through probably, I don't know, mid-October. But it really, I don't know, kind of ruined my day.
Yeah, and now you're ruining mine, and probably the listener as well. That's probably the most boring start, I think, in recent memory that we've ever had to this podcast. I mean, I feel for you, but not really. Not in a real sense.
Are you saying
Okay.
you've got saying your day's been worse than that?
Look, my day. Are we on to me now? Was that the segue?
Yeah, we can jump into you, Mike.
My day wasn't particularly bad. However, it's been, it's been like, it's felt like the end of the world. I know that's probably not the right word because that gets thrown around a lot, but there's a lot happening in Melbourne right now, and it's all a little bit terrifying. And it started off, so we've been having these protests at the moment. I don't know, have you heard about these?
I have heard about this.
So the government introduced mandatory vaccines for the construction industry. Then then they had on last week they had kind of like a weird little protest where they had their lunch, they had their smoko break out. They brought deck chairs out and tables and had them in front of trams, so they stopped trams and had it there as a protest to say "fuck you." We'll have our breaks wherever we want or something. I don't know. And then on Monday, they said that the construction industry had to go on pause for 2 weeks. So they were shutting it down for 2 weeks after they had made the vaccinate. So they gave them like a week or so to get the vaccine. And then the last 2 days we've just seen protests out in the streets, and they've been pretty horrific. And today was just terrible. And groups of, there's probably multiple thousands of them picking up speed over the course of the day from the city, marching through the city. Groups of men predominantly, and arguably infiltrated by some alt-right, extremists. And they marched to the Shrine of Remembrance in Victoria, and then they basically had a standoff there with police for hours, which ended in them getting dispersed by rubber bullets or whatever. And I was watching this whole thing, while I'm working from home. I had a Twitch stream going from someone from inside the protest. And anyway, I've been watching this all day, and it just, by about 5 p.m. when it all kind of came to a head, it just really, I don't know, just because I was watching this thing non-stop, it just like got to me big time. And it like I almost had like another fucking anxiety attack.
Jeez.
Just a couple of hours ago, because apparently that's my thing now. So I had to pop a Valium and a glass of white wine and put on some smooth jazz to calm down, which worked pretty well. But and then we had a fucking earthquake this morning, which
I was gonna say you've missed something as well.
Well, that just capped it all off, because this is coming from yesterday. Then we wake up, there's a genuine earthquake, and I don't know if anyone
Magnitude 6,
from Christchurch knows anything about earthquakes, but let me tell you, it can be pretty terrifying, guys.
Well, particularly like there's a certain degree here of like people expect it, know vaguely what it feels like, don't like it, definitely don't like it, but do know that it happened. Melbourne is not an earthquake city. Melbourne doesn't get them just like any old time. So to then out of nowhere have level 6, I'm sure felt pretty intense.
Well, I was out getting a coffee at the time that it happened, and as I was walking past, an apartment building, and I noticed that there was like a violent shaking of the door. I didn't feel anything in my feet, but I did notice that there was like a violent shaking of this glass sliding door that went into an apartment. And I thought, oh, that's weird, but like I didn't chalk it down to an earthquake. And then as I walk towards my house, Emma is standing out the front of our house, and she's like almost in tears. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, get in here. And she's like, we just had an earthquake. And I was like, no, we didn't, you fucking idiot. And no, I didn't say that. But yeah. Anyway, that I might be a little bit on the
card bounced. That was the other thing that happened today at the supermarket when I was trying to buy these cornstarch bags. My card bounced, so I had to do that awkward thing where you're standing at the thing just because you didn't have the right money in the account, and you're just like, oh, gotta top this up.
Do you move your money around like from savings so you don't spend it?
Yeah,
but then you do end up doing it?
Correct, yeah. So I just I had the money, it was just in the wrong place. So I went to tap and it does the decline, and then you're like, I can't afford this. And you're like looking.
Is this at a... You don't go to self-serve? Because I go to self-serves just for that reason.
No.
And also, I don't want the checkout person to see what I'm buying.
Yeah, when you buy alcohol at 10 in the morning, you have to go through the main line anyway. So, they'll check your IDs.
Alcohol, sparklers, and
condoms.
Ribs.
They make condoms, sure that they check you as you go through. So, pretty tough day on my end.
We've both had a pretty tough day.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll give it to you.
That reminded me of something when you said that. When I was living in Adelaide, I probably shouldn't be telling this, whatever. I lived next door to the guy who worked at the service station opposite Wallace Cinemas, that Shell.
Round the corner or directly opposite? Like diagonal
Holy shit,
past.
there's police outside my house.
Oh shit, I can see the lights.
There's actually police.
Like right at your doorstep or cars? I can see the lights, yeah.
The blind's down. I have no idea. The blind's down. I just saw it go. Anyway, it's all happening here, guys. The guy that I lived right next door to when I was living with my folks worked at the service station opposite the cinema where I worked with Nick. And this was at the... This is when I was my sexual life was beginning. And I would go into that service station and that's where I would buy condoms.
Uh-huh.
And I would always pray that it wasn't that guy, the guy that lived next door, because he would always engage He'd be one of those guys that would engage with you all the time, like when he saw you outside the house. And then one time I had to get condoms. It was an emergency. I'm sure you know what I mean, Nick. Had to get condoms. And then I got a 4-pack of Red Bull as well for some reason. And I just remember him saying, I was like, please don't say anything. Please don't say anything. And he goes, big night ahead. Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Anyway.
Welcome to Deep Forward, everybody. It's a Wednesday. I was about to say it's a Tuesday. It's not. It's a Wednesday. So that's interesting. This is a podcast in which we talk about the world, we talk about ourselves, and we talk about you, Brendan. I don't know. Let's try it again. Sitting through the internet with me this week, Michael.
Hello.
And I'm Nick. Sorry, can you just not speak up? And this is the podcast beginning now. I actually wanted to get that out of the way so we can circle back to the start, because I'm very interested in the Melbourne situation and the whole rising tensions and in that sort of thing. So as an outside observer, this sort of caught me off guard when I saw some of the vision that came through of these swarms of police cars. And my sister Georgie, she said that she'd seen a whole parade of cars streaming through, and it was all a bit odd. And she'd been walking her dog, and it happened to be...
Yeah, she's a bit closer to the action, isn't she?
Yeah, so she'd been walking her dog and happened to be just near where one of the protests was. And then the police were there, and they came over and they were like asking for her ID and asking her what she was doing in the park and all this kind of stuff, because she was walking her dog. So like,
oh, shit.
Yeah, it's all going on, but it sort of caught me off guard. So I'm wondering I'm wondering what you think the reason is that this has happened now. Do you think it's explicitly because of the construction worker thing? Or do you think this is like the lockdown 6 plus the Delta wave exhaustion sort of stuff? Do you think it's been brewing for a while?
It's definitely been brewing for a while, but the funny thing is, so these construction guys have been working throughout. So they're one of the few industries that have had jobs throughout the entire pandemic. And they are also responsible for, I'm going to be a bit off here, but for the numbers that we're seeing recently, they're responsible for, I think, about a quarter of the new cases that are emerging. So they're actually spreading this thing. And that's a result of, as we talked about, I think last week, we alluded to, the lack of compliance around people who are working in the construction industry, but also the fact that they're moving around. They can move outside. They can move outside of their 5K
cross borders and that sort of stuff
for jobs.
Yeah.
So it is a bit of pent up aggression, but this is also a male dominated industry. I'm not really one to, I don't like to
generalize.
I think generalizing, especially when it comes to men, I get a little bit like, I think people are a little bit trigger happy with that sort of thing. But with this, I think it's undeniable. And a lot of these guys are idiots. I would mostly idiots. They're as we spoke about last week or the week before. Their compliance is one of the lowest in the state or in the country. I looked at a graph today that said that people in the construction industry have the highest hesitancy with regards to the vaccine.
Wow!
So it's just this perfect storm of hot male energy. I shouldn't have said hot there.
Tell me more. Have they recorded any videos?
Hot-blooded. They've got plenty of videos, Nick, if you want to scour Channel 9's Twitter. Hot-blooded males. I hate to say it, but like probably poorly educated. It's just it's a perfect storm at the moment, and it's brewed out, and now they've been told that they can't work, and they already hate Dan Andrews for the lockdown. Now
But
they've been told they
weren't they able to? Isn't that so weird? Like they were given an exception for all this time. Why do they hate the
yeah.
lockdowns if they were the one industry that got to continue?
Well, they can't go out to the pub spending all their construction money on
Right.
bags and fucking beers.
Right. So it's not so much like you're forcing me to be home because they weren't. It's you've taken away the other stuff I like to do, even though I'm in a better position than 98% of the rest of the state.
Exactly.
Ugh.
It doesn't make any sense. It's completely selfish. It is completely selfish behavior, and they are garnering no sympathy.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell from, I mean, it is hard to tell actually because when the people I speak to, I mean, there's zero sympathy whatsoever. Everyone thinks these guys are absolute assholes. But then when you go on the news posts about these things, there is quite a lot of sympathy in the comments from people that appear to not be directly involved in the construction industry, but because they share the opposition to the lockdown, that they're like, go get them, boys. Like you're standing up for your rights. It's like this whole freedom thing. I mean, they call themselves freedom fighters, which I find hilarious because that's like, isn't that what the Taliban call themselves?
Yeah.
Like they sound like actual terrorists.
I mean, there has to be a greater than there's got to be a strong correlation between Facebook commenter and like shithead asshole. Like those are closely meshed. So perhaps it's still not very representative of the general sentiment. But you have to think, if you're going out there and you're blocking trams and shit, like aren't the people that are still out and about using trams most likely to be essential workers who are stocking the shelves, going to hospitals and this kind of stuff? Like who is meant to be feeling sympathetic for that? Like you're literally fucking with the core group of people who are keeping society running. Like that's such a strange defiance. Like go out and block Parliament if you're shitty at the government. Camp on their steps. It's just bizarre.
Yeah. I mean, they did go there initially today, but the police were ready for it. And by the way, they are planning to protest. They're chanting every day, which I think is meaning we're going to do this every day. I mean, okay, do it every day, but soon enough your 2 weeks will be over. And who knows what they're going to do now? But the government is a very tricky position because they don't want to surrender to these guys. But I don't know what the fuck they're meant to do. Like, do they try and negotiate? I don't know if these people aren't ready for negotiation. They don't want negotiation. They want their demands met, or else.
Yeah, it's not going to be like, well, we'll get one jab, but we're not getting a second. They're not going to meet halfway on this. So yeah,
there is a lot of. I mean, there's a couple of interesting things that I've noticed watching this thing. A few things that have occurred to me. One is that some of them are chanting, "I'm pro-choice."
Okay.
So they've adopted the abortion pro-choice and adopted it for their own "my body, my choice," which, I mean, I wouldn't mind picking that apart with you. Like, is that? I mean, if we're telling people pro-choice with regards to abortion.
I mean, that's what we talked about last week, right?
Did we?
Yeah, I brought that up as a comparison last week. Like, if we are pro-choice liberal, I think that's one of the reasons that stops me from going 100% to you need to get a vaccine. However, I was talking about it this week actually with my sister, coincidentally, and she pointed out that from her perspective, she was unsympathetic to that view. She thought that the abortion comparison was actually not a good match or not a good analogy, because the effects of an abortion are on one person and the effects of a vaccine are on an entire society, and that the impact from one is vastly different than the impact to another, particularly when you're in a state like this where there's like crazy anxieties plaguing, the entire eastern coast, where you've been people locked up in their houses for months, and you've got economic effects, which that's been the catchphrase of the conservative, oh, just get it over with, let it all in movement for a while now. But there has obviously been some impacts here, and I think her point was, well, it's affecting too many other people for your decision to not get the vaccine. And I think she was very much like, nah, fuck it. Let's not fuck around. Make people get it.
I think that's a very fair point. Unless you count the baby that you're killing as another person.
Sure.
But no, I think that's a fair point. Like the consequences of your decision not to put something in your body are affecting an exponential amount of people, hypothetically.
Yeah. Not even like literally. It could be an exponential viral spread. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that occurred to me was that, okay, so today, admittedly, the protests were largely peaceful. They were yobbos storming through the streets. But yesterday there was a little bit more throwing things at reporters. I'm not sure if there was too much damage done. I'm not sure about that. But today it was mostly peaceful, and the police were aware of it. The thing that occurred to me as well was that we had Black Lives Matter protests last year, and media support and societal support was largely for that. And yet today we're seeing the same people who were for that, at least I am on my social channels, seeing people who are supportive of Black Lives Matter protesting, that saying that you should be able to protest. And I got myself into trouble with a Facebook post last year saying that it doesn't matter what your cause is. If we're in the middle of a pandemic, you don't protest. Outside of that, you protest for whatever cause you like, but in a pandemic, you shouldn't be protesting. And people took offense to that because they thought, this is a life and death situation. They made their case that this was outside of those grounds, and then I was getting people arguing that there's no evidence of outdoor transmission, which at least now appears to still be true. But those same people are arguing that these protesters are idiots and they shouldn't be out there. Now, if the argument is that it's because they are being more violent or more they're causing more damage, then I get it. But today, it wasn't clear that they actually were. They marched through the streets, ended up at the Shrine of Remembrance. As far as I know, didn't cause any damage, but then the riot squad came in and had a standoff with them, asked them to leave. The police were great today. I was watching the whole thing, as I said. They gave them an out. They didn't take it. But then they started spraying them with rubber bullets. Now, that I can't help but think that is a little bit hypocritical. The cause, for me, shouldn't have anything to do with the thing. It's about the fact that, I don't agree that we should be protesting for anything. I also don't agree that we should be protesting for freedoms. But if these people disagree with the fact that we're being locked down, that's fine for them to have that opinion. What else are they meant to do? I don't think that they should be out protesting. I think maybe get creative with it. But do you feel like there's like a hypocrisy there?
Well, it's interesting because I suppose you could delve down and you could look, you could try and see if there are borders or distinctions you can drive here. I think it as a base level, if your belief is no one should be protesting because it's a pandemic, and then I think you can be consistent and say that neither of them should have happened. I think that's a valid opinion to have. I'm not sure where I stand on it. The next level down is, okay, well, if there is a valid cause that justifies a protest during a pandemic, where can we draw a line between acceptable and unacceptable? One of them, which is perhaps, I could argue it both ways, actually, now that I say it aloud. One could be the Black Lives Matter thing was a solidarity movement for Australia for the most part, in alignment with the actual stuff going on with America. There was definitely some associated local sentiment, particularly when it came to Indigenous people and dying in custody, the 400 plus, Black Aboriginal deaths in the past 20 years, I think, which have just happened in custody and never been accounted for, that kind of stuff. There was a bit of that discussion, but for the most part, it seemed to be a solidarity thing. And as such, there, I don't think, was an explicit target locally for that sentiment, and certainly I don't think not a target for any aggression here.
Right.
So they were.
Well, if anything, that interestingly, the aggression was against cops. I mean, if you remember, we were going through that whole thing last year. It was defund the police.
Of course,
cops.
but was cops. that didn't manifest into actual violence against policemen here or police officers here, right? I remember that context over there as well. That was all tied up in the Black Lives Matter thing, of course. But my point being that there was perhaps a smaller risk of conflict arising from this protest if it was, as I say, a solidarity thing, and you're just walking in accordance with, like in the same way that you might do a walk for Earth Day to show, like, climate change is real and we want something done about it. But it's not really picketing outside a politician's house or, something like that, right? So it's sort of nebulous. That might be a way to distinguish it from today, where it's like we're actively angry and interfering with local things and local issues and causing, disruptions, and then actively getting into conflict with people here.
Yeah.
Now, let me play my own devil's advocate, which is that one could argue, if you're doing civil disruption, if you are protesting something that you believe in, then perhaps the more justified reason to do a protest in a pandemic is when it is about literal, local, real issues, like we're being forced into our houses or you're trying to put stuff in our bodies, and we're going to walk in solidarity for a mostly international cause here, might be seen as less important. So,
sure,
I can see it both ways. It's an interesting area, and that's only if you want to go so far as to allow the hypothetical of a protest that should be permissible in a pandemic.
Yeah, great point. And a couple of other details here that I think probably matter. One is that the types of people that are marching for Black Lives Matter are the types of people that are going to be compliant, for one thing, in terms of masks and social distancing. And on the other hand, these freedom fighters, quote unquote, are and were the types of people to stick together. They were literally saying on megaphones, stick together, not social distancing, not masking, high fives, handshakes. There was a lot more alcohol
involved
in this.
Tongue kisses. A lot of shirtless construction workers just tongue kissing each other in the sun.
Wouldn't you love that? There's videos on Brown Cardigan of tradies getting into alleyways and sharing bumps of coke with each other and stuff. Like, it was a party for these guys. But I think the other thing is that it started off as a trade issue, and on the first day there was maybe 100 people outside of the construction union's office, kind of banging the doors down, basically, or everyone in high vis. The second day, most people in high vis. The third day, not as many people in high vis. That could be either people not wanting to be spotted or be called out as, someone that is part of the movement, because it's essentially a uniform at that point. Or, and this is what a lot of people have speculated, and to be honest, it did kind of look like this at a certain point, that it had been also infiltrated by hard right extremists who had using the cause to kind of, this has got a lot of momentum, we'll join in. And there's a lot of freedom flags. if the point of it was to, not mandate jabs for construction workers, which was the initial point, it felt like the point got away from them, or at least it got diluted and
Or
then became
co-opted,
about something co-opted, about something more, which was that, fuck Dan Andrews for locking us down.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. It's
a weird time.
How do you feel about? You've said already that the police involvement. You were fans of the police. How do you, as in, like, you thought they did a good job in terms
They did, yeah.
of their handling of the situation. How do you feel about the use of rubber bullets in this context? Like, if you've given them an out and you've said you got to move on, is that the kind of justifiable, expansion of tensions? Like,
So it was conflicting for me. So I had, this is part of what led up to my almost anxiety attack today, because I had ABC live stream News 24 on the big screen, and I was watching this Twitch stream from the inside. So someone who is protesting from the inside doing a live stream.
It was a protesters stream, right?
Yeah. So I'm seeing it from two angles.
Yeah.
And it was confused. So the reason why I said the police did a good job is because I could see this guy going up to police, and I could see the negotiations they were having. There was a riot squad in front of, they'd all congregated on this shrine of remembrance, and there was a riot squad that had basically surrounded them. They weren't really doing anything. Maybe they were literally littering or something, but they weren't really doing anything. The option that they gave the leaders of the protest was that, okay, we're not going to arrest anyone if you get everyone to leave out this side. I guess the predicament they're in is that you can't really have people standing on this, it's a shrine of, it's a war memorial that they had kind of co-opted for this kind of nationalistic. They were using it as like, you can't. It was kind of cheap.
You believe this was a deliberate imagery choice?
Was.
Yeah.
It was an imagery choice, and it was a pretty smart choice because of the fact that they know that if we get scenes on the media of police shooting rubber bullets at us or causing violence on this shrine, which is meant to be this sanctimonious place, that's going to look worse on the part of the cops.
But don't you think that the flip side of that is that if in some way they're comparing the injustice to the wars, that someone would look at it unfavorably and be like, mate, you weren't conscripted, you weren't in concentration camps, it was just asking you to stay home for 2 weeks. Like, I think there is still a risk there that they might be that might be an unfavorable image as well.
Sure, and by the way, these protests were not led in any conscious way at all. They meandered. They have no clear leader. They have no real clear message, to be honest. They ended up there, and I think it wasn't so much that, it was more, there's a lot of like patriotism and nationalism going on here, and this is our freedoms, and this is what our forefathers fought for, freedom. So I think it was a bit of that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so the police were in a tough spot. They couldn't leave them there for all night, I guess. They negotiated with them. There was a group of these people that were wanting to, they were like, we've made our point here, let's go and let's come back tomorrow. And there was another group within this bigger group who didn't want that. They didn't want to do that. They came there for a fight, and that's what they got. I don't know. I think the police did a good job because they gave them an out. They didn't take it. This was a standoff that went on for 6 hours, by the way. Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just.
Did they try like tear gas or anything like that?
Yeah, I think there was tear gas, but these guys are lighting flares.
Oh,
There was
right.
tear gas. I think they were like, I can't remember what they called them, like beanbag,
Oh,
whatever.
yeah, like the soft kind of,
Yeah,
as they shoot sort of like soft pads at people, right?
yeah.
I can't remember.
Who knows? I don't know. We probably don't want to talk about this forever because it's probably not interesting to your
No, I mean,
New Zealand friends.
no, of course. I think it is interesting, and I think that it touches on a lot of the issues that we've been, you know, following along with over the past year or two.
Yeah.
And for the record, as an opener and talking about bags, it was an attempt to kind of lift the mood for comedic purposes, and I hope you
No, I
don't think
appreciate it.
I was disregarding your
I
day
would never
because
think
I knew
that.
it was up there. I have a sort of tangential question, which is one that came out from over here as well, because
Yep.
Auckland has been in level 4 lockdown for 6 weeks now, 6 weeks.
Okay.
I think it's 6 weeks because it was longer than last year's level 4 lockdown.
Right.
And there's still
And sorry, level 4
is the
is
most
what?
intense. It is everything is shut
No Uber
except
Eats.
everything is shut except supermarkets and medical, and you can go and get vaccinated. And there
Right.
is no Uber Eats, there's no takeaways, there's no gyms, there's no anything, right? So uh, they've been in that for longer than last time because Delta was just very tenacious. And even though there's still some community cases that they're catching each day, they tend to be from family connections. Like someone gets it, takes it home, then all of that family gets it. So it's
Yeah.
not like wildly out of control, but there's still a few. And even so, they have now dropped down to level 3, which is Uber Eats and takeaways and social distancing
Okay.
still. But a few places can go back and up, spin up again.
Mm.
One of the and we here in the South Island and everywhere outside of the Auckland area have been at level 2, which is gyms are open, go and sit in a cafe, have a restaurant meal if you want. One of the complexities of this thing is the question of you as an individual citizen's duty when it comes to standing in compliance with these kind of recommendations. And I have a friend whose friend went back to work in Auckland today, the first day that was level 3, and gets into the office and people aren't wearing masks inside and they're not staying 2 meters away from each other. And they were just thinking like, oh, this is exactly the worst possible way to be doing this. Like
Right.
if the moment you drop down one level and everyone arbitrarily goes back to work, even though you don't really need to, and then when you get there you're not using masks and you're not staying distant, like this is how it fucking spirals out of control. And they were very
Yeah.
uncomfortable. Like what is my duty here? Do I go and tell
Yeah.
my bosses this isn't good enough? I don't feel safe. You're not enforcing the legal requirements here. Do you call the police? Do you get someone to
Yeah.
call the police on your workplace? Like how would you approach this kind of thing as an individual responsibility?
Yeah.
Do you have any sense of what have you had an opportunity or have you witnessed a breach of a recommendation, and how have you responded, and what would it take for you to actually escalate it to an authority?
I wouldn't look. This is just a personality trait, but I wouldn't. I'm not the type of person that would ring up and dob someone in.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that that's not the right thing to do. I think it probably is the right thing to do in this case. I don't know. I don't know. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't. I'm not the type of person that would do that. But I am the type of person that would silently judge someone.
And that's true even outside of pandemics.
Well, it's funny. So I'm fully vaxxed as of last week, and I immediately had this genuine sense of like elitism, like this elitist like view. I went to the shops straight after, and I had it in my head. I was like, look at all these fucking losers. Not even this guy's mask's a little bit down. Like it for me, I'm fine. Like I'm safe.
Yeah.
But like for you guys, like you poor little plebs.
Yeah. As of today,
are you fully vaxxed now?
Yeah, I was about to say, as of today, it is now 2 weeks since my second jab, so I think I'm officially as fully vaxxed as I'm going to get.
Wow, it's a good feeling, right? Like it was a quite like almost emotional for me.
To be honest, I didn't quite get to that level, and I think that just speaks to the fact that for New Zealand, we've been in such a bubble. We literally have not had to confront this sort of onslaught of endless lockdowns and bullshit for so long. But I can totally understand how you getting to a point where there's like 500 cases a day or whatever still rolling out in Victoria, and you get to a point where it's like, hey, I think I'm okay. I've been vaxxed. I think I'm good. Like that is a significant statistical safety net for you. The chance of you being seriously ill has drastically dropped. That has to be psychologically comforting. It's no surprise if you felt a little bit emotional.
Yeah, I didn't really respect the virus up until a couple of months ago, and by that I mean I didn't really think about it getting to me. I thought about it spreading amongst the community, but I didn't actually feel vulnerable. I had it in my head. I didn't think I was vulnerable. I'm relatively healthy. I didn't think that. I thought that even if I got it, I'd shrug it off. But now hearing that, especially here, I don't know what it is over there, that Delta is affecting more younger people and more people are ending up in ICU. And also, look, I don't know. I do think that we have overblown this in our heads. The fact that most people who get this do recover. Our boy Joe Rogan, he's back, baby. If Joe Rogan's back, I can get back.
If a fucking billionaire with access to really obscure medical technologies can beat this, anyone can. If he can get that fetus juice and some good old ivermectin at the snap of his fingers, then anyone can make this work.
He and Trump both had like a similar recovery. Totally. Like they just threw the kitchen sink at it. Yeah. Both weren't vaccinated.
Yeah.
Both
Joe Rogan wasn't vaccinated?
No, man. Well, now he doesn't need to be.
That's
well.
Why was he not vaccinated?
Because he knew that he could just whip out the ivermectin, dude, and it worked. Tell me it didn't work.
It didn't work. It was the monoclonal antibodies. I reckon that seems like the most reliable rich person way of treating things.
Yeah, and sunlight.
Look, you know where I stand on the Joe Rogan. The fact that he proclaims to be so like up with all the science, and so like he brings on all of these like PhD people and all this like far-reaching scientific fields, the anti-aging stuff. He'll take anything to sort of sleep, maximize his sleep efficiency and minimize his genetic mutations and aging and anything. But if you're in that kind of mindset and then don't take the scientifically backed vaccine, I don't know. I find that such a strange and unjustifiable.
It's easily explainable. So he's so open. He's so open to everything everyone said that I don't think that he speaks to so many people on so many different sides on either side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
That he is not getting any. He's not getting any true information from one source. He prides himself on, which I think is respectable to a certain degree, on getting people from the left and the right, scientists from the left and the right, and on both sides of the COVID ivermectin or medical debate, gets them on talking to them, and then he gets convinced over the course of 3 hours. And then, he's good friends with Brett Weinstein. I'm not sure if you know who he is.
No.
But he's been one of the main guys, proponents of ivermectin, which we all know is crap. I disagree. I have disagreed with the media treatment of calling it horse paste and stuff, which it's a medical drug.
I mean, I know what you're saying, because if someone like Joe Rogan takes ivermectin, he's taking the human one, right? That said, people that are not Joe Rogan, who don't understand, are and have been taking horse paste. Like, there's truth on both sides there, right? Which is that, there were runs and calls to the vets for this drug because they were getting it wherever they could without understanding.
Yes,
both sides can be true.
Exactly.
You can do a beat up of someone and call it horse paste if they didn't, but people have been taking the horse paste.
Exactly, and here is where I kind of come around to what I assume is your gripe with Rogan, is that I always think, I see him as his podcast as, it's just, you're at a party and you walk into a room and there's two kind of idiots having an interesting conversation, and you think, I'm going to stop in and just listen to this conversation, and you don't necessarily agree because they don't really have any, clout on the issue, but you like the conversation. So that's how I see Joe Rogan. The fact is, though, that he does have millions and millions of people listening to his thing. So that kind of argument goes out the window, because you have to take some responsibility over the fact that people are listening to what you're saying, even though he will say, don't listen to me, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that everything you have to say is true? No. But it does mean that you should probably be a little bit more careful with your words.
Yeah.
Then you've got Sam Harris. Sam Harris has been an absolute killer on this thing. I know you don't listen to her anymore, but he's just absolutely killing it with his podcast. And he actually wrote to Joe Rogan saying that he needs to get reputable scientists on there, blah blah blah, which I think is going to happen. But I kind of forgot.
Sam Harris advocating for vaccine.
Oh yeah, heavily, and saying that Brett Weinstein has just gone so far off the deep end. They were part of this what was it, the intellectual dark web. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, that old chestnut.
Yeah. But
so the would you say that Joe Rogan is naive? Would you say he's easily persuadable? Would you say he's calculatedly open-minded? Like, where do you position his, like, what's his actual the ethos behind how he approaches it? Do you think that he's deliberately being centrist and letting everyone on? Or do you think that he's like sincerely, oh, this person seems smart, what are they talking about? Oh, that's really cool, I'm into that. And then take someone else on and be like, oh, this person's smart. Oh, that seems really interesting. Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think he's not particularly smart himself, but he has a certain smartness to him, which is an open-mindedness.
Yeah.
And a strict...
I think he knows the things he doesn't know, right? Like, he doesn't pretend to be an expert on stuff, and that's quite... Yeah. That's an uncommon trait.
And he also vehemently wants to not be swayed left or right and be part of a team.
Yeah.
Which, is something that I share with him. But I think what he lacks is any knowledge on things, which, I don't
Do you
either.
Think
but
he's lost the ability to tell what is reputable as a source?
I think that's possible as a result of having he's kind of smokescreened himself by not aligning himself to any particular one or any particular party, but by having so many people on with so many different opinions.
Yeah.
That if you're locked in a conversation with an expert, even if they're wrong on, let's say, ivermectin, you can get
Yeah.
experts on ivermectin, medical experts who are talking to you for 3 hours. It's going to be pretty hard for you not to get convinced by a few things.
Yeah.
So I think he's kind of just in this confusing world that he's built for himself.
Yeah, and one that's self-reinforcing because he has a multi-million-dollar, financial deal behind it all with a 3 times a week output that needs to be met, or it is three
Sure.
times a week, or whatever, right? Like this ongoing production timeline which needs to be fed as well. It's like, well, fuck, okay, who are we going to get? Like, let's keep looking.
Yeah.
What's out there?
Yeah, but I do think that he's definitely got people around him like Sam Harris, that are willing to call him out on certain things. And my guess with that, he'd be like, "Oh, please come on my show and let's talk about it."
Yeah.
And then he's probably going to go the other way, and he might even admit that maybe it was stupid of me to take ivermectin. I mean, it's going to be hard at this point for him to say that because whatever he did worked. And that just so happened to include ivermectin.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's a fascinating character. I think that there'll be, give it, another 10 years, there'll be a very interesting biopic on him.
He's a strange.
Because there's the whole,
guy.
Alex Jones side of it as well. Like, this crazy sort of friendship with a guy who was...
But... The interesting is that the thing about his friendship with Alex Jones, and not to go deep on Joe Rogan here, but he does have a friendship with Alex Jones, but he also did a podcast with Alex Jones that went for 5 hours, where everything that where Alex Jones said, they stopped and he went fact check that.
Yeah.
And he fact checked every single thing. He didn't let it get him away with everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm of this. The more that society gets divided between left and right, the more I really am priding myself on centrism, and that's why I do have some admiration for Joe Rogan, and that's why I'm kind of idolizing Sam Harris and guys and Bill Maher, these guys that are not picking a team and are criticizing the left and as much as the right. I think that's really important right now because it's just tribalism at this point. And I think I don't think there's equal blame to be shared on both the left and the right. I think the right, especially in America, have guns, and the left, they have, political correctness. It's not the same thing, but there is criticism to be laid on both sides. But I do think I do admire the centrism of it all, and these are the guys that I'm kind of looking up to at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting. I find centrism in some ways understandably admirable. Like, I understand the logic of let's at least listen to the other people and try and engage rationally about the arguments, and the let's have the old school debate club version of political discussion, where you present your case for what you believe the budget should be, and the moral backbone for it, and the justifiable points for this, and why we should allow guns or not allow guns, or abortions, or whatever your hot button topic is. And then I'll rebut, and we do it. Like, I admire that kind of rational centrism, and I suppose I'm just cynical enough to think that that's not where this conflict is actually coming from. And I'm not sure that it can get back there, because I think so much of the opposition now is based on irrationality and a partisan, or like an allegiance to, a reality of your own making. Like if the conservative worldview is there's no such thing as COVID, and we don't need to do anything about this, and there's going to be 5G in your vaccinations, the response to that, the logical argument of, well, no, there isn't, and here's all the ways that there isn't, and that's silly, and you should do it. That doesn't, you can't meet someone on that level, right? So a centrist
Yeah, there's
positioning
not
of
equal fight,
yeah,
or equal arguments, and just by giving, sometimes there are things that you that don't have equal weight.
Yeah.
Just because it is an argument doesn't mean it's a fair. Just to have the argument is a fair thing to do.
yeah. Like I could say, well, if you jump off this building, gravity will pull you to the ground and you'll die, and someone else will say, no, it won't. And you can have that fight as much as you want, but it doesn't make both of them equally justified, right?
Sure.
So that while I understand the inclination towards a centrism where there is two rational, well thought out, justified, but opposing beliefs about a topic, I think that's a historical reality that was the case in certain forms of our politics and culture and history and everything like that. But I don't know that that's realistic in the world that we're now living in. I don't think that sometimes centrism can achieve anything if you're arguing like, well, I'm going to jump off this building and I'll be fine, versus yeah, you'll die. Like that the kind of, when you're coming at it from such different ideological baselines, where one is interested in rationality and one is not, I don't think centrism gets you anywhere. I think it's closer. I think it just becomes a form of the problematic sort of journalistic both sidesism, where you're treating an argument which is not really valid with some sort of respect it hasn't earned.
I see what you mean, but for me, centrism is just making up your mind on every single issue, without taking your without towing the party line in any particular way. It's deciding, okay, abortion, what do I think about this? COVID, what do I think about this?
Then I wouldn't define that as centrism, because I think centrism, and I'm not as fully versed on it as you might well be, but my internal definition of that is taking the two ideological endpoints of a dispute and deciding that the best outcome is halfway in between, versus a sort of ideological openness where it's like, I'm willing to listen to the arguments and make a rational choice of my own,
right,
based on the evidence. I think centrism could be described as like, every person should own 100 guns. Well, I believe no one should own any guns. All right, the correct answer is 50 guns for everyone. Like, that's what I think of as centrism.
Okay. Well,
whereas
that's not how I think about it.
Sure, yeah. I wanted to delve into that to clear up what you're
No, dude, I'm
at.
loving this discussion, by the way, as well, and thanks for thanks for having. I don't know why I'm thanking you for having this conversation with me.
I thought you were going to say thanks for having me. I'm like, I'm on your podcast, buddy.
I just wanted to add one more thing,
of course,
before my order of another glass of wine gets here, which I ordered from Emma 10 minutes ago. Hasn't been here.
Oh gosh,
is that I am also ideologically, I would say that I lean left, and I think when we met, I'm liberally minded, whatever that means these days. But I think the left has pushed further left and the right further right. That to call myself a lefty, which I still think I am, I think to people on the left who have moved further left, just in terms of perspective, now it looks, because I've kind of remained where I am, I look like I'm, on the right, or I don't think I look like I'm on the right, but like I'm in the center, and like, I think Emma actually knitted me this beanie.
Whoa, that's cool.
With like the Jordan Peterson thing, when I was getting into that, people very quick to say, "Oh, you're a right winger." But I don't think I am. I think I'm a lefty. I wouldn't like to label myself that now, because I don't like where the left has gone.
Sure.
But I'm certainly not a fucking righty.
Yeah.
Righty doesn't
Righty?
work. You can say lefty, but you can say right, maybe a righto.
Neocon. Where are you? Just I don't want to go down this track very far, but where are you at with the old Jord Peets? Where, are you still listening? You're still in? You're on his pods?
I'm not. I don't listen to him. I don't know what he's put out. I did read his last book. I listened to his last audiobook, which was 12 more rules for life or whatever.
Yeah.
But
hey, when you got a hit, stick with what you know.
Well, exactly. I don't think anything that he says in that book anyone would really disagree with. He's gotten swept up in this transphobia pronouns kind of thing, or that's at least what gave him his start. And you sent me a thing the other day. I don't really have an opinion on that. I do think he is getting a little bit swept up in maybe it's the type of people who are inviting him on. He's getting the Stephen Crowders, the Dave Rubins. I'm not really following him that closely. I do know that with Jordan Peterson, what appealed to me was a sense that you need to take responsibility for your own actions, and that you, in an age where, and yes, easy to say as a straight white male in this world, I will grant that, but like in an age where I think there's been more value placed on being the victim, I do think that is true. Be it for the right reasons or no, I think the message that he's putting out of be responsible, pull your socks up, be responsible for your own actions, life is hard, play the hand that life deals you. I think that was an important message for me to hear at the time, and I think that still resonates with me, and I think it actually improved my life quite significantly. So I like him for that. Do I like everything that he says? No, I don't agree with everything he says, but I think he does have some good messages, and I think he has been misunderstood and misrepresented quite a lot.
Cool. I just wanted to check in. Oh, this has been fun chat. This has
been good, man. This has been like a proper podcast.
Yeah. Shall
I get a quick glass?
Get a drink and then reconvene in a mo?
Make yourself some margaritas or something.
No, sorry. I just had to clean up. I had left a mess after making dinner, and then
are you a messy housemate?
No, I asked KC to clean it up, and he hadn't cleaned it up, and so all the food was sitting out, and I just put it in the fridge. And,
how are you guys going with that whole cleaning up? Or like, are there any irritations that are creeping in now?
We're pretty good. We didn't have any fights during lockdown or anything like that, so that was all good. Cool. I think there are some things that I would do faster than he would do them. Do you know what I mean? Like one of those things where like he's happy to leave a dish out overnight or something like that, and I'm the person who's like, I just wash it and I put it away and then it's done.
So with you on that.
With that kind of stuff, it's like he said, I'll clean up. And then it had been like an hour and a half, and I came out, and the chicken's just sitting out on the bench, like room temperature. And I was like, okay, well, that's going to go in the fridge. So I'll just throw that in, and then I'll put the dishwasher on, and I'll just get it going, because that's just where my brain goes.
No, I'm with you. What if I was to ask him, what is probably the most annoying thing about living with you? What would he say?
Probably, either general neediness or the OCD cleaning side of it, whereas I just can't let things sit for too long.
Did you say neediness?
Yeah, just like
attention.
Yeah, just in terms of like sometimes like getting home from work or whatever like that, or he's just got home from the gym. Like I'll be excited to get like a hi, hey, how are you doing? And he's like, oh yeah. And I have to wait for him to like go have a shower and then like sort of get into home mode before he's willing to like talk about how your day was and that kind of thing. And I'm just sitting there being like, just say hello to me. just
That surprises me a little bit.
Well, it's just because I've been at home a lot of the time just all day by myself because this is my home office. So it's like a puppy being left home and then the owner comes in and it's just like sitting at the door being like, someone else is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just thinking, your arms are looking thick, my man.
You were just thinking as I flexed in front of the camera for you.
Dude, you were noticeably musclier.
Well, thank you. It's nice to know that something's going right in my life.
Yeah, man. Good on you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to add to that, but I'm glad. I'm glad that it's visible. I appreciate your support. I'm looking forward to seeing your arms sometime. I think we're just a couple of cool dudes, rocking the muscles.
Yeah, man. Well, I took a month of drinking, as you know, which has ended.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Today.
Well, yeah. I mean, no. I was taking four weeks off, and to be fair, there was 2 or 3 times where I had a glass of wine or two. I wasn't too strict with it, but I stuck to it more or less, and I'm doing this Strava 100 Ks in September. So I'm trying to run 100 kilometers in September.
Jeez.
Which I'm on track for at the moment. So I'm just
wow. How many Ks have you run?
I've run 75 as of today.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
How often are you running, and how many Ks are you running?
Basically every day, accounting for a couple of days here and there when where I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah.
But
what's that
pretty much
3 to 5 Ks a day?
5 Ks minimum.
5 Ks minimum. Yeah. So you're ahead. Yeah. You'd smash the 100 if you did 5 Ks a day.
Yeah, I was looking like I'll smash it. But yeah, I've dropped 3 kilos. It's been insane. Yeah.
So in the month, which is only slightly overlapped with September, the non-drinking, or half overlapped.
Yep.
You stopped drinking for a month, and you also did 2 to 3 weeks of running every day, and you've dropped 3 kilos.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm also diligently tracking what I eat, and I'm very strictly eating under a calorie goal.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's just been a combination of all those things.
That's a big commitment.
It wasn't. It feels good. It's been good. It's good to have something to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and also in a lockdown context as well, to go outside for a nice 30-40 minutes of brain meditation, open, change of scenery space kind of thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, it's been so good for that thing. And also I feel like before I was kind of running aimlessly, and that I got into Strava with a couple of my friends. And just seeing your map and seeing all the statistics. I love statistics on myself.
I like a good running map. I like a good running map.
I love a running map. I've been weighing myself every day on my smart scales. I've been tracking my sleep. I just want all the data on myself. It's just like porn to me.
Yeah, it's gamification of a goal, right? It's like you've run 3 days in a row. Congrats, here's your reward. You've run 5 days in a row.
That's
wow.
What you need.
Ding, ding, ding. Just triggers that little endorphin hit.
Yeah, no, it's been great. And last lockdown, I was just like, fuck it, fuck everything, booze every night, eating whatever I want. Yeah. This lockdown, I took a very different approach. I was like, I'm not going to let it get the better of me.
Yeah,
I'm going to exercise. I'm going to watch what I eat. I'm not going to drink. You know what I think is a real thing? The last 2 pods that we've done, and even including this one, the last 3, that I have not been drinking. I think my drinking, I've had many realizations having not, been off the booze actively over the last month. And one of them is that I think I actually genuinely think clearer and can form more cohesive sentences when I'm not drinking, which is a very worrying thing to realize. But I think my brain is actually operating at a better capacity now than it has been pounding a bottle of wine every night. Like
yeah,
it's
I mean, a
really
bottle's
not.
quite a lot.
Dude, it was a lot, but I wasn't really thinking like, you wake up maybe a little bit groggy, a little hungover, but then you kind of get through it.
Yeah,
And I think taking a
with the
little bit of
clarity.
a step back,
Yeah,
it's like I think I have a little bit more clarity, which is, a lesson.
yeah. No, it's like I said, in the midst of it, like the number of things that you've like taken on board in this period of being like, okay, I'm gonna stop the drinking for a while. I'm gonna actively monitor my diet and enter it in the app. I'm gonna watch my weight. I'm gonna go for runs, and I'm gonna set a target where I'm gonna run 100 Ks in a month. Like that's pretty intense. Like all of this combined stuff is no small feat. Like any of those by themselves would be like a very reasonable like a personal goal to set yourself for a period, and to do them all simultaneously is really impressive.
Well, dude, I have an addictive personality.
Yeah.
That's just what I do have, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think if you can channel addictive behavior into, and it's not necessarily addictive behavior, but if you can make games out of things, if you can form habits, I guess it's like maybe you could call it habitual behavior.
Yeah.
If you can turn that into positive behavior, then it can actually be a
real benefit,
a bit of a weapon.
Yeah,
a real benefit. Yeah.
If you've enjoyed this sort of thing, then I have great news for you. You are a good person, and you've made the right choice to enjoy it. There's plenty more in the episode feed if you want to go back in time, pick out something random. I promise you it'll be interesting, if only because of how badly our opinions have aged. There is plenty of content in the feed, but you can head to default.podbean.com if you want more. Facebook.com, Twitter for new episode alerts. You can head to our Instagram for photos and little bonus clips. SoundCloud, you can send in a question or a comment to deepfort@gmail.com, and we will read it eventually. Thank you for your support, and we wish you a very happy September 22nd. Gosh, I think there's no better way to cap off a day of disorder and disharmony than with a game that brings the world together.
Are you talking about Bitlyball?
I'm talking about Bitlyball.
Bitlyball.
So if you haven't heard how Bitlyball works before, it is pretty straightforward. It is a competitive game between Michael and I. We'll play for 3 rounds and try and score the most points. Now, the way you score points is by guessing a URL on the website Bitly. That's bit.ly. Bitly is a link shortening website, and it allows you to create custom URLs. So if you wanted to link to, for instance, the new video clip for Radiohead's song If You Say the Word, you might choose to paste that very long YouTube link and then create a custom URL at Bitly with the end tag /if you say the word. That would have a length of 15 characters, and if, when we then visited bit.ly /if you say the word, that page loaded, then you would score 15 points. So the longer the URL that you guess, if it is successful, the more points that you get. However, if you get it wrong and nothing loads, if no one has ever used bit.ly to create an ending with that exact phrase, then you lose that number of points. So it is a risk and reward game, a high stakes game of guessing.
Very high stakes.
If you load to a new page and the page itself is broken, but you have redirected away from bit.ly, you get no points, but you also lose no points. So you're aiming for a completely loading page, a video that works, a understandable website. That'll get you the points. If you go somewhere else, but it's broken or it used to work, but it doesn't anymore, that's zilp. Zilp is the way that I say zip and nil. And if you don't even leave Bitly, then you lose those points. Of course, there is one vital exception, the porn rule. If you end up somewhere with pornography, that is double points. But I think the way we should introduce it going forward is it has to be unintentional pornography. I don't think you should be able to just set a phrase which is explicitly porn oriented. What do you say?
I like it. I like that this game is evolving with every time we play.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair rule.
Yeah. Otherwise, I feel like we're just going to be ending up sending porn back and forth to each other. It'll become a numbers game, and I want to
which we
already do off podcasts. So I feel like it would become redundant. I hope you're all on board. I hope you understand. Michael, why don't you kick us off?
Okay. All right. This is one that I actually thought of yesterday.
Oh,
if you can believe it.
I can't believe it. This is unbelievable.
Is that allowed?
I think that's allowed, as long as you haven't checked it.
No, definitely not. Okay, my Bitlyball entry for the first round is pretty fly for a white guy.
All right. Wow. Pretty fly for a white guy is a 21. Okay.
Good?
You ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
I'm assuming this is spelled the exact same way that it sounds. No trick letters, no characters. Yep. Alrighty. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Oh,
YouTube, baby. I love that YouTube. And it's going straight for
the offspring. You get straight to the video.
I love it.
That was a strong first throw.
Wow.
And what a retro throwback.
I am pretty fly for a white guy. So.
Yeah.
All right. Doing pretty well.
That's a strong first entry. I gotta go big here in order to keep up. And I think I might take inspiration from your lead and also from my random suggestion earlier. I think I'm gonna go bit.ly/subterranean homesick alien.
Okay, this is risky.
This is risky. I love it. This is a not a famous song, but this is one of my favorite
Radiohead songs, I've got to say.
It's got a lot of characters, which is what I'm really
I got to do a quick shout out here to Casper because this is his favorite Radiohead song.
Oh, that's handy.
He's always asking to play it at the wrong times, but yeah. Now, subterranean spelled SUBTERRANEAN.
Yep, correct. And that is a 25. Now, this I think is a bit of a risk. This is an obscure place to start.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
because you can this is only going to be in a Radiohead person.
This is only going to go there. I can't think of any other reason it would be done. But would someone have used Bitly for this purpose? I don't know. I'm ready to find out.
Do you want me to count us in?
Please.
1, 2, 3, 5. Oh, Nick, I'm so sorry. Oh, no. I'm so sorry. That's a 4-0. Is that a 404?
That's a 404.
No.
That's a no one has ever used Bitly for this purpose, which seems frankly to be a crime.
Something's wrong here.
Okay, that's really left me in a bad position. That's minus 25.
Terrible. I kind of want to give you some points, actually.
Fuck off.
But I know that I can't.
Okay, Michael. Strong position. Strong position.
Now my tactics here have changed at this point. Because as we know, this is a game of strategy.
Yeah.
As well as creativity, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so I had a couple of options here,
mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go with something solid.
I'm
gonna go with Lady Macbeth.
Oh, Okay. Okay, Lady Macbeth.
Bit of literature.
Bit of literature.
For you
Lady
guys.
Macbeth. I'm going to guess you're spelling it the correct way. Macbeth.
MAC, like mac and cheese.
Yeah.
But Mac and Beth.
So that's a 12. That's a lady's 12.
That's all I need. I only
Which-
need 12.
You're trying to hold on to your position here. Lady Macbeth, you ready?
I'm ready, Freddie.
3, 2, 1, fire. Oh! 404. But a 404 on mentalfloss.com. I think I said .com, and I want to just clarify that I meant .com. On mentalfloss.com. I have been called out before for accidentally saying .com, and I don't want that to repeat.
So the website's defunct, but do I get any points?
You gain
I
no
don't lose
points,
any
but
points.
you don't lose any points. That's a safe
Okay.
404. You got 0.
Okay.
You sat exactly where you are. That's good for
Okay,
me.
I'll take it.
That's good for me because it means
not
that
bad.
I've still got a chance to get back into the game here.
All right, makes things
Cool.
interesting. What's your strategy here, Nick?
I can't play it safe. I can't play it safe. I've got to swing big. I've got to get at least back into the positives, which means I need at least 25 to even have a chance of catching up.
His tongue is wedged between his teeth
Okay.
on the side of his mouth.
I feel like this is safe, but it might not be long enough. I'm going to go for my second
Daddy.
throw. bit.ly/the Joe Rogan experience. I think that's safe. It's not going to get me over the line, but I don't know. I've got to get up there.
Now, are you spelling Joe Rogan Ivermictin?
Yes, correct. This is a 22.
22. That's not bad. All right, 3, 5, 9.
What?
Oh,
Oh fuck!
you're out.
I'm out.
You're out, buddy.
Oh fuck! Why? How? That's a Bitly fail. That's another Bitly fail. That's so unlikely.
Correction. You're a bitly fail, dude.
Okay, I never took things to a personal level when you were suffering last time, and I would expect a little bit more gentlemanly behavior from you at this point.
So, are you 20? How many? Are you down?
I'm minus 47.
All right. I'm going to make things interesting. I'm going to swing big here, dude.
Yeah, you can
To
do whatever
even give you a...
you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yes,
It's not going to help. Even if you picked a 30, I still need to do a 35 plus to get ahead of you and succeed.
Okay. bit.ly. Maybe I'm not going to swing that big.
Oh, come on. You got nothing to lose.
Oh, you want me to... Okay. Okay. bit.ly/Oprah is a racist.
Oprah is a racist. OPRAH is a racist. Wow. That's a 14. It's more of
It's not even many.
it's more of an ideological swing than it is a real risk. But look, I respect the game. I'm excited to find out, and I think
she is, by the way.
I think
she
that
is.
okay. Let's not
To Mexicans.
let's not throw this in at the end. I got a strong feeling that this is actually more likely to have a link than we think. Are you ready? 3, 2,
It might
1.
link to Joe Rogan experience.
I know. 3, 2, 1. Nah. Look, I respect the hustle. Down 14. That's still positive 7. So I need to gain 54. I need to gain 55 to win, and I think that might make things somewhat secure for you.
Wait, I'm going to help you out with this one.
No.
I'm Googling the longest movie title in the world. Oh, you know what you could do?
I don't want your charity. I want to try and win this pure.
Okay. So what do you need?
I need 48. No, I need 50. I need 55, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't want to be open to suggestions?
Okay. Yeah, throw it my way.
You could do the full title of the Borat film, which is Borat: Cultural Learnings of America for Make Great Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan.
So here's where I was going to go. The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. That's 35. That's a gentleman's 35. I could get there on my own, see if I got there. But what do I think's more likely? Borat?
I think you could go both.
It would be...
Try both.
Okay.
I'll give you a mulligan. If Lord of the Rings... Oh, wait. If Borat doesn't work, I'll give you a mulligan.
Okay,
and you
let's
can,
do that
you can
way.
leave with a little bit of dignity.
Yeah.
By the way, if you win, we split the winnings.
Oh! Okay, yeah. Borat: Cultural Learnings of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan is 71. That's a 71.
Yeah.
If this comes through, this will be definitely the longest Bitly ever successfully thrown.
I'm not even gonna type this one.
Yeah, I think you're fine. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Nah. Nah, that's a swing and a miss.
All right,
but
try your Lord of the Rings bullshit.
Here's my gentleman's gracious defeat. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
By the way, has there ever been any more boring movies than Lord of the Rings?
Okay, you're gonna anger a lot of the populace. This is it, Michael. This is the only way I walk out of this with my head held high. To be honest, it still feels like a bit of a long shot.
Yeah.
This is a 35. Here we go. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1. Nah.
Nothing.
Nothing.
No.
I fell quite hard with that one.
You did, and I helped you as well.
And you helped me. So
which makes me look even better and you even worse.
Yeah,
obviously.
That's a minus 82. So that's a pretty tough. That's pretty tough.
Are we doing cumulative games?
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember the numbers we got previously.
No, we're not. Every game's a fresh game.
Every game's a fresh game. Look, I'm not gonna lie. I'm disappointed. We all try our best, and you got to respect that. But clearly some things we can do differently next time. Clearly something to take to the locker room and think about. Congrats to our opponents. Played a good game. Played a fair fight. He poured his heart and soul into it, and sometimes you don't walk away with the win.
It wasn't. Thank you. It wasn't so much about heart and soul. It was more about the smarts for me. I think it was more of a intellectual winning. I wasn't playing from my heart. I was playing from my head, and I think that's probably what got me over the line.
I hope you get crushed by an earthquake.
Oh my god, goodness gracious! Do you? Because there's aftershocks, dude. There's aftershocks.